What's up, YouTubers? What's up? What's up? What's up? This is your guy, Mr. Evaluator. Okay. Okay, guys. So I just basically got out of the comic section about this Pennywise thing, okay? And, now it just came to mind that it really started bothering me. Everybody's just attacking each other, calling DC wankers, Marvel wankers, and, you know, okay. So basically, this is what I'm just going to say, and I'm going to finalize, okay? So this is what I'm going to ask all of you YouTubers, okay? Can Pennywise consume the entire DC universe? Okay, so we already have that capability that this guy's a giant consumer. He can consume authors, he can consume ideas, everything that is inside creation. In fact, he can consume creation itself. Okay, so, but the thing about this, okay, if Pennywise can only consume the things that are beneath him, not above him, okay? Unless you can prove me otherwise, write it down in a comic section. But in this case, we're going to be talking about DC. So let's get into the idea of things. So think about it. We all know and understand that if Pennywise enters creation, he is bound by the laws. Okay? He's bound by the laws and the logic, and he has to abide them. This is stated in the mouth of Stephen King himself. Stephen King himself, if he enters creation, he's bound by laws. And I already told you what will happen if any of the DC characters stepped outside of creation. They are no longer bound by laws themselves, okay? Because their entire universe is balanced by not ideas. They is their universe is balanced by chaos and order. Okay, so I'm just going to get to the main point. So instead of writing this big old long comment and people not even going to read it all the way, I might as well put this video up. So in this case, guys, this the entire DC universe exists because of chaos and order. If there is no chaos and there is no order, then DC ceased to exist. Everything. And I mean, this is pretty much confirmed by DC themselves, the writers of the DC comics. There has to be chaos and order. This is pretty much what they live off of. This is the very foundation of the DC universe. If there is no chaos and there is no order, then DC ceased to exist. This is why we have people like Dr. Fate. This is why we have Nabu. This is why we have the Spectre. This is why we have the Presence. We have these people so that they could set the universe to balance. They're basically, and it literally puts them above creation. Because they balance this idea of chaos and order, because they balance this idea, it literally puts them above creation. It puts them way above the author, the writers. See, the writers created the reality. They created the DC. They created the story. They created the reality. But what balanced it, what brought it to life was chaos and order. And without this chaos and order, life, the reality, the stories, everything in the DC universe ceased to exist. This is why we have these higher beings here to balance the entire DC universe. Well, you may want to ask, Mr. Evaluator, how come the Dark Tower has more infinite realities, infinite planes than DC? Well, I'm going to explain to you. The reason why DC only has 6 planes of reality is because each of those planes are balanced by chaos and order. Okay? If one plane if one plane was more than the other, then that plane had to be set to balance, because there will be no DC universe if there isn't chaos and order. So if there's one plane of reality that's filled with order, then that you best believe that it's going to be balanced to chaos and order. It's going to be set to balance. This is the whole concept of DC. The concept of DC is to have chaos and order. So if there isn't no chaos and there isn't no order, DC doesn't exist. So this idea is clearly protected by the characters and by the higher beings in the DC universe. This is literally protected. The authors just created, but what brought it to life was the chaos and order. It's basically even protected by the higher beings. So I'm going to refer back to the question: can Pennywise consume the entire DC universe? Can he consume the idea of chaos and order? No, he can't. And I'm going to tell you why. Well, actually, let's give a highball. Let's just say he can consume the entire DC universe. So let's just say when he consumed the entire DC universe, 6 planes of reality, that means he consumed everything in it. The characters, everything in it, just for the sake of the conversation. And pretty much, he even consumed the idea of DC. So the idea of DC was balanced by chaos and order. So what will happen to Pennywise? There's an after effect. When he consumed the idea that created Marvel and DC, because he's just a giant consumer, when he goes over back to his own reality or his own universe, in actuality, he will lose that reality, okay? Or that reality will be balanced by some sort of, or that reality will be balanced by some sort of evil and some sort of good. Because in this scenario, and I'm going to tell you why before you freak out, before you say, that's not true, you're wanking DC, you're wanking DC. No, this is anime logic, okay? And anime logic is pretty much the content or the idea of something that was created and supported, right? That made the story and made the character. If that gets consumed, then everything else in it ceased to exist. If Pennywise consumed the entire DC universe and consuming the idea of chaos and order, having an after effect because he doesn't have no balance, then that will clearly balance and scale Pennywise. Now, Stephen King just told you what will happen if Pennywise steps inside a creation. He begins to be bound by their laws. He begins to get bound by their rules, everything. So he can never enter creation in his true form because he's too big. Because he's clearly too big to enter creation. And when he does, he is bound by their laws. So in this case, if he's going to eat the entire DC universe, it'll literally be like him eating, well, okay, so he can eat creation, but it'll be like literally him eating creation, being inside creation. Okay? It'll literally be like, because chaos and order is the idea of the DC universe. And if he eats that, then he's basically eating the creation of DC. Okay? And eating the creation of DC will be like, because they're balanced by that idea that is consumed will be consumed by creation itself. I mean, it gets kind of complicated to explain, so I'm going to make it in smaller words. If Pennywise consumed the idea of chaos and order, then he will be balanced by chaos and order. Because in actuality, because chaos and order balance the DC universe and the six planes of their reality, is because that idea is above creation itself. That's the point I really wanted to bring to you guys. The idea is above creation itself. See, Pennywise can consume creation. Creation is within, it is not without. Creation is not on the outside, it's on the inside. So, because Pennywise on the outside, he can consume everything within. But the idea of chaos and order is on the outside. And even if it were for him to consume chaos and order, then it'll literally be him. It'll literally be almost like him entering creation, trying to eat creation from within. It's like if he eats that, it'll be like him eating DC Universe, eating the entire DC Universe from within itself. And stated by Stephen King, there's no way Pennywise can do that because he will be bound by the laws and logic of the DC universe. He will literally be bound by that. And that's really the point I wanted to bring to you guys. So I just want to push all the other stuff I said aside because I was really, really trying to get to this point. So the idea of chaos and order came to balance the entire DC universe. And because it's the foundation of the DC universe, it's clearly, it's clearly not within the concept. It's not within the concept of the DC universe. It's not within the DC universe. It's out of the DC universe. Chaos and order is on the edge of everything, like Pennywise. Chaos and order is on the edge of everything. And like I said, if Trigon wanted to, okay, the amount of chaos that is on that scale, and he absorbs that, he will literally be on that scale. But by the time he get to that scale, Raven will already be there. Because if he can absorb darkness, Raven is way more stronger than her father. She'll reach to that scale of order and she will literally balance her father. Okay, she will literally balance her father. But in this case, Pennywise in no way cannot consume the DC universe. He can't. Because if he's going to eat the DC universe, he has to eat the idea of DC universe, the idea of the DC universe. And the idea of the DC universe is chaos and order. And chaos and order is on the edge of everything, like Pennywise. So clearly it can't be eaten, it can't be consumed, it can't be overtaken, it can't be ruled. You can't go into the DC. This is anime logic. This is how this works. Okay, so I created a character that can pretty much destroy anything that has a title. Okay, and destroying anything that has a title, if you could destroy the title of the idea title that created the DC universe will be chaos and order, then pretty much you destroy the whole DC universe. So let's just give it a highball. Let's just say Pennywise can destroy the title of can consume the title of the DC universe. The title of chaos and order, which basically balanced the universe. So we already know that Stephen King said he can't enter reality because he has to be bound by those laws. In order for him to consume creation, he has to be outside of it. So if creation is on the outside of the universe, if it's on the outside of everything, likewise, Pennywise cannot consume it. He can't consume it. So just for the highball, let's say that he does, then the after effect of DC will cease to exist, and it will And because it's on the outside and it's been consumed, the entire DC universe will get recreated. The entire DC universe will recreate itself. Okay, and I'm going to explain to you about that. The entire DC universe will recreate itself because when chaos and order, right? If there is no chaos and order, balance will be set. So it's pretty much like the idea is immortal itself. Chaos and order is immortal itself. And it's almost like even if he does consume it, like the entire DC universe will still get recreated because even by the authors, chaos and order have to balance DC. It's the life of DC. It's the purpose. It's the sole purpose of DC. So if it gets consumed, not only that DC will it cease to exist, but it will regenerate. It'll literally regenerate. The entire DC universe will get recreated. And that entire universe is going to sit on top of Pennywise's true form. So in this case, because he consumed it, Pennywise's true form will balance the entire DC universe. Pretty much like Maturin. So the entire DC universe will be sitting on Pennywise's back, literally, while he's on the outside of creation. And in this case, because he's outside of creation, eating creation, because creation is like the DC universe itself. But the idea of creation was chaos and order. So him eating the idea of that, then creation itself will cease to exist and it will recreate itself. Because as said even by the DC authors, the writers of DC, that DC cannot go on and continue if there isn't any chaos and if there isn't any order. The reason why Pennywise can consume the Dark Tower and them having infinite realities is because their realities isn't balanced by anything. Okay, their realities was just created and that was it. Their realities is just created. That's all it is. Their realities is just pretty much created realities that has its own foundation, but their foundation isn't balanced. DC, however, has a balanced foundation. And if you just eat that foundation, then you will become the foundation of DC. And this is even said by one of the authors, I gotta go find his name, that if DC was to lose their foundation, or if something was to destroy the foundation of DC, then that something that destroyed the foundation of DC will become the foundation of DC. When they knew that there's going to be people out there creating characters to, people, and even, strong characters. So even if I was to say Goku, if Goku was to destroy the idea of pretty much if Goku was to destroy the idea of DC, okay, which is chaos and order, right? And or he was to consume it, he will become the foundation of that entire six-plane universe, because that's how they basically written it. That mean if he already ate the idea of the DC universe, chaos and order, then that mean it never existed. That mean Pennywise just basically ate nothing, because they literally told you chaos and order exists. And because it's the foundation of the entire DC universe. So if Pennywise just eat it, it will cease to exist. Just him eating that idea, it won't even exist. Everything will just fade away and there'll be nothing. But it'll literally recreate itself. So basically, if you understand, whenever there's more chaos within creation, then order, there's always a balance in the DC universe. So if that was ever ripped, whoever took the foundation of the DC universe, they will be the foundation, as shown in one of the Superman comics. That's why as one all-star Superman, I believe, he was talking to the Atlas, and the Atlas told him about holding the entire weight of the universe. That mean I had to take it. He had to take holding the burden of the universe and the emotions of the universe for the good things he did, and well, for the bad things he did, but he had to honor it like a good warrior. So that there basically shows you that he balanced the universe off of good, off of the chaos he did, in the order he will store. The chaos he caused in the order he will store. And when Superman held that, it was literally too much. And as said by the author of Superman, he literally said that Superman is the foundation of the entire DC universe. Okay? So when that explains when Lois died, he was talking about storing, killing all the criminals that murdered people because they pretty much didn't want to, kind of, they were murderers, so he made sure that nobody would kill anybody else again. But this is why in Injustice 2, Dr. Fate tries to help a woman, well, whatever his name was, I forgot his name. Uh, they said Brainiac is order. Brainiac was order. And he was literally saying that humans kill each other. We are the destructions of ourselves. And continuing on that to what happened to Lois Lane, like Dr. Fate did not fight Superman. He did not battle against Superman because Superman was about order. Well, just in the video game, Superman did battle Dr. Fate, because, they sided with Brainiac. But in actuality, if you saying that Lois Lane died and and Superman was doing all of that and Brainiac never came to existence, this is why whenever Flash goes back in time, the universe sets its balance. There has to be chaos. So if Flash stopped his mother from dying, something else tragic happens in the future. So whenever he runs back in time, the universe always sets its balance. And the presence and these higher beings protect that idea. So even if Pennywise come to try to consume the universe, he'd have to fight the presence. He'd have to go at it with the presence. And the presence can basically literally create creation. And he will literally throw creation at Pennywise and literally bound him inside creation. I mean, Pennywise wouldn't even bother or tamper with the entire DC universe because they're balanced. And if he tries to eat it, then it will balance him. And he will be the foundation of the DC universe. Well, Mr. Evaluator, you're a big wanker. You're just wanking DC. You're a big fan of DC. You just don't like Pennywise. Pennywise is a consumer, so he can consume the entire DC universe, even the idea of it. So there will be no DC. Again, if he consumed chaos and order, which balanced the entire DC universe, it has to have chaos and order. It will literally set a balance. Like, it's almost like you can't destroy the DC universe. Like, if Trigon wanted to take over all 6 panels of the DC universe, he couldn't. He wouldn't. Because it will be a balance. And this is beyond the author. Nah, she's not. I think she might be over there. Oh, yeah, my bad. But however, brothers, I'm just gonna end it with this. Uh, no. Pennywise cannot consume the entire DC universe, no matter how powerful he is, or what scale or whatever power he scales to. DC has a balance in the universe. Now, if they did not have a balance in this universe, then yeah, he can consume this entire universe. It will cease to exist. Yeah, he stumps DC. He will literally stump DC. If they did not have this balance, he will literally beat Trigon if Trigon did not have that capability. Like, how is that a wink? How am I winking DC? If they did not have this balance, Pennywise will literally stump the entire DC universe if they did not have this balance. And clearly they do. Now, as far as the Dragon Ball Z universe, I mean, Zeno could clearly do whatever he wants. You know, he's going to already see Pennywise coming, and pretty much he could just erase universes with no problem. Zeno could even pretty much erase outer beings and other authors himself if he wanted to. So, like, that's a no, you know. So this whole point was, if Pennywise try to consume the idea title of the DC universe, it'll literally force him into creation. Literally. I mean, because you can't eat or consume the entire DC universe, or that idea without going through the DC universe yourself. So if he's going to consume 6 planes that are balanced with chaos and order, he's going to have to consume chaos and order. And trying to consume chaos and order is going to literally, in his true form, is literally going to force him into creation, where he's going to be bound by laws. So even giving it a highball, let's just say it doesn't, then the entire DC universe will use Pennywise's true form to be the foundation of that whole universe, because DC has to be balanced. There's no way that if you consume 3 planes of the DC universe that's balanced will be done, because again, as I said, that it has to be a balance in DC universe. If there is no balance and you take the balance off the scale, then they cease to exist. Which is why if he ate those 3 planes, then Pennywise will have to balance the entire foundation of the DC universe. If the author themselves erase chaos and order, then the entire DC universe will be balanced on those authors. DC universe, the whole entire DC universe is based on a balance. So in this case, Pennywise loses, and he can't consume them. So if you have any questions or any comments, leave them below. Make sure you hit that like and that subscribe button. Peace.